The transport ship landed hard on the rocky surface of Kepler 442b. Commander Lee Tae-ho felt the metal floor shake under his boots as the engines powered down. Outside the small window, he could see nothing but red dust and dark mountains under a pale orange sky. "Looks friendly," said Sergeant Park Min-ho, checking his rifle one more time. His voice carried the dry humor that kept soldiers sane in bad places. Corporal Kim So-ra looked up from her tablet, worry clear on her young face. "Sir, I'm still not getting any signals from the mining colony. The last message was 3 days ago, just routine supply requests." Private Han Woo-jin moved to the window, his sniper rifle already in his hands. He had grown up hunting in the Korean mountains, and his eyes were sharp. "Something feels wrong about this place," he said quietly. Tae-ho nodded. He had been a soldier for 15 years, and his gut told him the same thing. The mining colony should be busy with workers and machines. Instead, the landscape was too quiet, too empty. "Stay alert, everyone," Tae-ho said as they prepared to leave the ship. "We're here to find out what happened to those supply convoys. 3 ships went missing in this sector last month. That's not normal." The team moved out into the thin air of the alien world. Their breathing masks felt heavy, but the gravity was close to Earth normal. Sora's scanner beeped as she searched for signs of life or technology. "The colony entrance should be 2 kilometers north," she said, pointing toward a cluster of metal buildings built into the side of a mountain. "But I'm not picking up any power signatures." They walked across the rough ground, weapons ready. Woo-jin stayed back, watching through his rifle scope for any movement. Min-ho carried extra explosives. As always, his specialty was making things blow up when they needed to. As they got closer to the colony, Tae-ho could see that something was very wrong. The main entrance gates hung open. Several vehicles sat abandoned near the buildings. Scorch marks covered the metal walls. "There was fighting here," Woo-jin said, kneeling next to some strange marks in the dust. "These tracks, they're not human." So-ra checked her scanner again. "I'm getting faint life signs from deep underground. The colony extends far into the mountain. There might be survivors in the lower levels." Tae-ho made his decision. "We go in quiet. So-ra, can you access their security system?" She plugged her tablet into a damaged control panel near the entrance. Her fingers moved fast across the screen. "Got it. But sir, you need to see this." The tablet showed security footage from 3 days ago. Tae-ho watched alien soldiers pouring through the colony entrance. They were tall and covered in dark armor, with 4 arms and faces hidden behind metal masks. Their movements were too coordinated, like they shared one mind. "Vorthak Empire," Min-ho said, spitting in the dust. "I fought them on Titan Station 2 years ago. Nasty bugs that work like a hive mind." So-ra counted the alien soldiers on the screen. "At least 500 went into the colony, maybe more." "What happened to the colonists?" Tae-ho asked. The footage showed workers being dragged away in chains. Men, women, and children disappeared into the tunnels. "The aliens wanted slaves for their mining operations. We need to get them out," Woo-jin said. Tae-ho studied the colony entrance. It led to a network of tunnels and chambers carved deep into the mountain. Perfect for mining, but also perfect for getting trapped. 4 of us against 500 aliens, Min-ho said. "I've had worse odds." They moved into the colony, following the main tunnel down into the mountain. Emergency lights cast red shadows on the walls. The air smelled of burned metal and something else. Something alien and wrong. So-ra's scanner showed life signs scattered throughout the underground complex. Many levels stretched down into the rock. The aliens had spread out to control every tunnel and room. "They're using the whole place as a prison," she whispered. Tae-ho led them deeper, staying in the shadows. His team moved like ghosts, years of training making them silent and invisible. They passed empty rooms where miners once worked. Alien claw marks scarred the walls. Then they heard voices. Alien voices, speaking in harsh clicks and hisses. Tae-ho held up his hand, and his team froze. Around the corner, 2 Vorthak guards stood at a junction where several tunnels met. Their forearms held weapons that hummed with energy. Behind their masks, red eyes glowed in the darkness. Woo-jin raised his rifle, But Taeho shook his head. Not yet. They needed more information. First, Sora connected to the colony's computer network, her fingers working magic on her tablet. Data flowed across the screen. Tunnel maps, power systems, structural plans. Sir, she whispered, I can access their communications too. They're speaking about something called the Final Gathering. Taeho's blood went cold. That sounded like they were planning to kill the prisoners. He was about to signal his team to move when alarms started blaring throughout the complex. Red lights flashed, and alien voices echoed from every direction. We've been detected, Minho said, checking his explosives. From tunnels in every direction, the sound of running feet and alien voices grew louder. Taeho looked at his scanner. Red dots appeared everywhere, hundreds of them moving fast. His team was surrounded. Sora's tablet crackled with an incoming message. An alien voice spoke in broken human language. Humans detected. Surrender now or be destroyed. The main screen in the tunnel junction lit up, showing the face of a Vorthak general. 4 red eyes stared at them with cold intelligence. I am General. Krexter, you're in our territory now. You have nowhere to run. You are surrounded. Taeho looked at his tactical display. Over 2,000 red dots showed alien positions throughout the complex. They filled every tunnel, every room, every possible escape route. His team of 4 humans stood in the center of it all. Minho laughed, but not with humor. Well, this is it, sir? Wu Jin checked his rifle ammunition. How do you want to play this? Sora looked scared, but her hands stayed steady on her equipment. Orders, sir. Taeho studied the tactical display more carefully. He saw something the aliens didn't see. They thought they had trapped 4 humans in their underground maze. But Taeho saw it differently. The aliens had put themselves exactly where he wanted them. He activated his communicator and spoke to General Krexatar with a cold smile in his voice. You warned me that I'm surrounded, Taeho said. Then so are you. The alien general's 4 eyes blinked in confusion. What do you mean, human? But Taeho had already switched off the communicator. He turned to his team, and now his smile was real. Listen carefully, he said. We're not trapped down here with them. They're trapped down here with us. Minho stared at his commander like he had lost his mind. Sir, with respect, we're 4 people against 2,000 aliens. How exactly are they trapped? Taeho pulled out the colony's structural plans that Sora had downloaded. He spread them on the tunnel floor, pointing to the complex network of passages, chambers, and shafts. Look at this place, he said. The aliens see a maze where they can corner us. I see the perfect killing ground. Sora leaned closer to study the plans. Her young face was pale, but her mind was working fast. The ventilation system connects everything, and the power grid runs through central nodes. Exactly, Taeho said. The Vorthak fight with overwhelming numbers and coordinated attacks. They're used to open battlefields where they can surround enemies and crush them with superior firepower. Wu Jin was starting to understand. But down here they can't use their numbers effectively. The tunnels are narrow. They have to come at us in small groups. More than that, Taeho continued. They've spread themselves thin throughout the entire complex. They think they're controlling territory, but they've actually divided their forces into bite-sized pieces. Minho grinned as the plan became clear. And we know how to bite. Taeho looked at each of his team members. These weren't just soldiers. They were the right soldiers for this situation. Minho had grown up in the underground districts of Seoul, where gangs fought in subway tunnels and abandoned buildings. He understood close-quarters combat and improvised weapons better than anyone Taeho had ever served with. Sora was young, but she was a genius with technology. She could make any computer system do things its designers never imagined. In a place full of mining equipment and industrial controls, she was more dangerous than a whole platoon. Wu Jin came from a family of hunters in the Korean mountains. He knew patience, precision, and how to use terrain to his advantage. His grandfather had taught him that the best hunters never chased their prey. They made the prey come to them. And Taeho himself had survived the brutal fighting on Titan Station, where human forces had held off alien invasions for 3 months. In underground cities, He had learned that humans had advantages no other species possessed. "Here's what we're going to do," Teho said. "We disappear into the maintenance tunnels. Sora, I want you to take control of every system in this place. Power, air, water, communications, everything." She nodded, already thinking about how to hack deeper into the colony's network. "Minho, you're going to turn this mining facility into the world's biggest booby trap. Use their own equipment against them." The sergeant's eyes lit up with dangerous enthusiasm. "I can work with that, sir." "Wujin, you become invisible. Pick off their officers from impossible angles. Make them afraid to stick their heads out of cover." The sniper shouldered his rifle. "Consider it done." "What about you, sir?" Sora asked. "I'm going to teach them about human military history," Teho said. "They need to understand what happens when you corner a human." They moved deeper into the maintenance areas, places the aliens hadn't bothered to occupy. These narrow passages ran behind the main tunnels, giving access to power cables, air ducts, and water pipes. Sora found a junction box and connected her tablet. Within minutes, she had access to the entire facility's computer network. Her fingers danced across the screen as she explored systems for processing ore, managing atmosphere, and controlling industrial equipment. "This place is a fortress," she said with excitement. "Blast doors, emergency lockdowns, atmospheric controls, even mining lasers for clearing asteroid debris." Minho was examining the mining charges stored in a nearby depot. "These are shaped charges for breaking rock, but with a little creativity." He started sketching diagrams on his tablet, showing how to position explosives for maximum effect in confined spaces. Wujin found a ventilation grate that opened into the main tunnel system. Through his rifle scope, he could see alien patrols, moving in predictable patterns. "They're following standard search procedures," he reported. "No imagination." Teho activated his communicator and began broadcasting on all frequencies, not just to the aliens but to any human ships that might be listening. "This is Commander Lee Teho of the Human Space Forces," he said. "I want to tell you about a battle that happened on Earth, long before we reached the stars. It was called Stalingrad." General Krekstar's voice crackled back immediately. "Human Commander, your historical lessons will not save you. Surrender now." "In that battle," Teho continued, ignoring the alien general, "an enemy army thought they had trapped human defenders in a ruined city. The attackers had superior numbers, better weapons, and complete air superiority." Sora was working while she listened, taking control of the facility's environmental systems. The temperature in several alien-occupied areas began to rise uncomfortably. "But the humans knew something their enemies didn't," Teho went on. "Every building, every room, every pile of rubble could become a fortress. Every street could become a killing ground." Minho placed his first improvised explosive device in a tunnel junction where alien patrols had to pass. It was invisible, triggered by movement and powerful enough to collapse the ceiling. The attackers found themselves fighting for every meter, every floor, every room. Their numerical advantage meant nothing because they could only engage a few humans at a time. Wujin lined up his first shot, an alien officer directing a search team 3 levels below. The distance was extreme, the angle impossible, but he had made more difficult shots while hunting in the mountains. "The battle lasted 200 days, Teho said. "When it ended, the attacking army was destroyed. Not defeated, destroyed. And you know why?" His rifle whispered, and the alien officer dropped. The patrol scattered in confusion, looking everywhere except up at the ventilation grate where death had come from. "Because humans don't just fight battles," Teho explained. "We turn entire environments into weapons. We make the ground itself our ally." Sora giggled, as she triggered a controlled malfunction in the atmospheric processor. Alien voices could be heard cursing as their section filled with harmless but blinding steam. "Your stories do not frighten us, human," General Krekstar replied. But there was uncertainty in his voice now. The easy victory he had expected was becoming complicated. "Let me tell you another story," Teho said. "It's about a place called Thermopylae, where 300 humans held off 300,000 enemies in a narrow mountain pass. Minho's first trap claimed its victims, 6 aliens vaporized instantly as they triggered the shaped charge. The explosion brought down tons of rock, sealing that tunnel permanently. Or maybe you'd prefer to hear about the Alamo, where humans fought to the last man rather than surrender. Or Orcs Drift, where 150 humans held off 4,000 warriors for 2 days. Wu Jin's second shot dropped another officer. This time, the aliens spotted the muzzle flash, but when they reached the ventilation grate, they found nothing. The hunter had already moved to his next position. "What is the point of these ancient tales?" Krekstar demanded. Teho smiled in the darkness of the maintenance tunnel. "The point, General, is that you've made the same mistake that every enemy of humanity has made throughout history. You've confused being surrounded with being trapped." Sora had found something interesting in the facility's defensive systems. "Sir, this place has automated mining lasers designed to clear debris from space. They're powerful enough to punch through starship armor. Can you control them?" "Already working on it," she said, her fingers flying across her tablet. The first phase of their counterattack was just beginning, but already the aliens were learning that humans were different. They didn't panic when surrounded. They didn't surrender when outnumbered. Instead, they smiled, and that was the most terrifying thing of all. The first day of hunting began at exactly 0300 hours colony time. Wu Jin had been watching alien patrol patterns for 6 hours, memorizing their routes and timing. The Vorthak moved like clockwork, efficient, predictable, and completely lacking in creativity. Their hive-mind coordination was impressive, but it made them easy to predict. Through his rifle scope, he watched a patrol of 8 aliens move through the main tunnel on level 5. Their leader carried a communication device that linked back to their command structure. Wu Jin had identified 12 such officers throughout the complex. He lined up his shot, accounting for the strange gravity and thin atmosphere. The bullet traveled silently through the darkness and found its target. The alien officer collapsed, his communication device sparking and dying. The remaining aliens scattered, but they followed standard procedures. They took cover in predetermined positions and called for backup. Wu Jin was already moving through the ventilation system to his next position, 3 levels down. Sora was conducting her own form of warfare. She had gained complete access to the mining facility's industrial systems. Every conveyor belt, every ore crusher, every atmospheric processor was now under her control. But she was being subtle about it. An alien patrol moved through the ore processing center, searching for human signs. Sora waited until they were positioned perfectly, then activated a conveyor belt at maximum speed. The sudden movement startled the aliens, who opened fire on what they thought was an attack. Their energy weapons struck the ore crusher's control panel, causing a cascade failure throughout the system. Sparks flew, alarms sounded, and the entire processing center filled with choking dust. In the confusion, the aliens couldn't see Minho as he placed another shaped charge on a support beam. By the time the dust cleared, he was gone, but their section of the facility was now structurally compromised. "Status report," Teho whispered into his communicator. "First officer down," Wu Jin reported. "Moving to position 7. Processing. Center neutralized," Sora said. "They lost 8 soldiers to friendly fire and equipment failure. Support beam prepped for demolition on level 3, Minho added. Next target is the power distribution center." Teho studied his tactical display. The aliens were responding exactly as he had predicted. When they took casualties, they sent more troops to secure the area. When equipment failed, they sent technical teams to investigate. Every response made them more vulnerable. "Phase 2, he ordered. Sora's fingers danced across her tablet as she accessed the facility's atmospheric controls. She began making subtle adjustments, increasing humidity in some areas, raising temperature in others, introducing harmless but irritating gases into alien positions. The Vorthak couldn't understand what was happening. Their equipment readings showed everything was normal, but their soldiers were becoming uncomfortable and distracted. Meanwhile, Minho had reached the power distribution center. It was a massive chamber filled with humming generators and energy conduits. 6 alien technicians were trying to repair damage from Sora's earlier sabotage. He placed a tiny explosive charge on each generator, not enough to destroy them completely, but enough to cause cascading failures throughout the complex. The charges were programmed to detonate in sequence, creating maximum confusion. Wu Jin had found a perfect sniper position in an abandoned mining control room. Through holes in the floor, he had clear shots at 3 different tunnel intersections. His next target was a Vorthak squad leader who was coordinating search teams. The shot was impossible by normal standards, through multiple levels of grading, around a bend in the tunnel, accounting for the bullet's path through varying atmospheric pressures. But Wu Jin had been making impossible shots since he was 12 years old. The squad leader fell and his entire team froze in confusion. Without their hive mind connection to higher command, individual Vorthak became hesitant and slow to react. "General," Krekstar's voice echoed through the communicators. "Report. What is happening to my forces?" "Unknown equipment failures," came one reply. "Atmospheric anomalies," reported another. "Officers missing," added a third. Taeho smiled as he listened to the alien confusion. Time for the psychological pressure. He activated the facility's public address system and began broadcasting again. "General Krekstar, let me tell you about human guerrilla warfare. It's an art form we've perfected over thousands of years. Minho's charges detonated in sequence, and the power grid fluctuated wildly. Lights went out across entire sections of the complex while others flickered unpredictably. Emergency systems activated randomly. We don't need to defeat all of your soldiers at once," Taeho continued. "We just need to make every moment of their lives uncertain and dangerous." Sora had discovered something wonderful in the facility's security system, recorded messages from the human colonists. She began playing them through speakers throughout the complex. Voices of men, women, and children who had been taken as slaves. The psychological effect on the aliens was immediate. They had expected to face soldiers, not be reminded of their victims. Every shadow could hide a human. Taeho's voice echoed through dark tunnels where alien patrols moved nervously. Every sound could be your death approaching. Every breath could be your last. Wu Jin claimed his third officer, a communications specialist who had been trying to coordinate the search efforts. With their command structure disrupted, individual alien units began making mistakes. A patrol of 10 aliens entered a tunnel that Minho had prepared. They triggered a shaped charge that brought down half the ceiling. 3 died instantly. 4 were trapped under rubble, and the remaining 3 fled in panic. "You see, General," Taeho continued his broadcast, "your soldiers are used to overwhelming force and coordinated attacks. But here in our element, surrounded by our tools and technology, we become something different." Sora began her masterpiece, a complete sensory assault. She triggered every alarm, siren, and warning system in the facility simultaneously. The noise was deafening, disorienting, and absolutely terrifying in the enclosed spaces. In the chaos, Minho moved like a ghost through the alien positions. He planted more charges, disabled equipment, and created false signatures that made the aliens think humans were everywhere at once. Wu Jin used the noise to mask his movement to an even better position. From his new vantage point, he could see the central command area where General Krekstar was coordinating the search. "Sir," Sora reported, "I'm reading massive confusion in their communication networks. They're starting to fire on each other." "Confirmed," Wu Jin added. 2 patrols just engaged each other on level 2. They thought the other group was human. Minho laughed over the communicator. "They just brought down their own tunnel trying to chase my shadow." After 12 hours of psychological warfare, the results were clear. The aliens had lost 63 soldiers without seeing a single human except through a rifle scope. Their coordination was breaking down, their morale was shattered, and they were beginning to fear the darkness around them. But Taeho knew this was just the beginning. "General Krekstar," he broadcast one final time as the first day ended. "You came here with 2,000 soldiers to capture 4 humans. How many do you have left?" The silence that followed was more telling than any response. In the maintenance tunnels, Taeho's team regrouped for a few hours of rest. They had turned a hopeless situation into a tactical advantage, but the real battle was just beginning. "Tomorrow we escalate," Taeho said quietly. His team nodded. They had shown the aliens what humans could do with preparation and stealth. Now they would show them what humans could do with creativity and rage. General Krextar had lost 400 soldiers in 3 days to 4 humans. The Vorthak commander stood in his command center, staring at tactical displays that showed empty corridors and silent tunnels. His officers reported equipment failures, communication, breakdowns, and soldiers who simply vanished from their posts. "Enough," he snarled into his communicator. "Bring down the ceiling. Flood the tunnels with poisonous gas. Burn out every section until nothing remains alive." His aide, a younger Vorthak, with 3 scars across his face, looked uncertain. "General, the human prisoners are still in the lower levels. If we use area weapons, then they die with their rescuers," Krextar snapped. "I will not lose more warriors to these ghosts." Above the colony, 3 Vorthak warships moved into bombardment position. Their weapons could crack open mountains and melt rock into glass. The general was prepared to destroy the entire facility, rather than admit defeat to 4 humans. But he had underestimated what Sora could do with a mining facility's defensive systems. Deep in the maintenance tunnels, she had found something amazing in the colony's records. This facility hadn't just been built to mine asteroids. It had been designed to break them apart using focused energy beams. The mining lasers were powerful enough to slice through starship armor. "Sir," she whispered into her communicator, "I can target their ships." Tejo was placing demolition charges on the main support beam for level 6. "Do it, but wait for my signal." The first orbital bombardment began at dawn. Energy beams lanced down from space, turning solid rock into molten slag, but the mining facility had been built deep in the mountain, with layers of reinforced barriers designed to withstand asteroid impacts. Sora waited until the warships were focused on their attack runs, then activated the mining laser array. 8 massive beams erupted from concealed positions across the mountain surface, converging on the lead Vorthak vessel. The alien ship's shields flared and died. Its armor melted like butter. The vessel broke apart in a brilliant explosion that lit up the morning sky. The remaining 2 ships pulled back, but Sora was already tracking their movements. The mining lasers swiveled with mechanical precision following their targets. "Impossible," General Krextar breathed as he watched his fleet retreat. "They turned mining equipment into weapons." "Humans are creative that way," Tejo replied over the communicator. "Let me tell you another story, General. This one is about the siege of Leningrad. The second phase of the battle had begun." Krextar's response was swift and brutal. He ordered his elite hunter-killer teams into the facility, specially trained, Vorthak soldiers who operated independently from the hive mind. They moved through the tunnels with advanced sensors and heavy weapons, searching methodically for human heat signatures. Wu Jin spotted them first from his position in the ventilation system. 12 aliens in advanced armor, moving with professional skill. Their leader carried a device that could detect heartbeats through solid rock. "We have a problem," he reported to Tejo. "Professional soldiers, not regular troops." "Then we treat them like professionals," Tejo replied. The first hunter-killer team entered Section 7, where Minho had prepared a special welcome. The tunnel looked empty, but the sergeant had learned new tricks during his years in Seoul's underground. He had filled the air with metallic dust from the ore processing systems. When the aliens used their energy weapons, the particles ignited, in a chain reaction that turned the entire tunnel into a furnace. The special armor that protected them from human bullets couldn't save them from being cooked alive. The second team was more cautious. They moved slowly, checking every corner and shadow. But they were thinking like ground soldiers, not like hunters. Wu Jin had positioned himself above them, in a mining shaft that led straight up for 200 meters. He dropped a string of grenades down the shaft, bouncing them off the walls to land precisely where the alien stood. The explosions collapsed the tunnel completely, burying the elite soldiers under tons of rock. "Your special forces need better training," Tejo broadcast to the general. "Human children play hide-and-seek better than that." But Krextar wasn't finished. He had learned that conventional tactics wouldn't work, so he tried something desperate. His soldiers began gathering the human prisoners from the lower levels, using them as human shields while they searched for Tejo's team. Sora detected the movement on her sensors. "Sir, they're moving the colonists. Families with children, heading toward the main processing center." Teho felt cold anger replace tactical thinking. The aliens were making this personal. "Change of plans," he said quietly. "We go loud." The rescue operation began with Sora taking complete control of the facility's transportation system. Conveyor belts, mining carts, and automated platforms all suddenly changed direction, carrying confused aliens away from the prisoners while bringing the colonists toward prepared safe zones. Minho emerged from hiding with enough explosives to level a city block. He began methodically destroying every structural support between the aliens and their prisoners. Tunnels collapsed, passages sealed, and entire sections of the facility became impassable. Wu Jin abandoned stealth entirely. He moved through the facility like an avenging angel, his rifle claiming any alien who threatened a human civilian. His shots came from impossible angles, through floor grates, around corners, across vertical shafts that shouldn't have provided clear lines of fire, and Teho revealed the true scope of his plan. For 3 days, his team had been mapping every system, every weakness, every structural flaw in the entire facility. They had turned the mountain itself into a weapon. Sora, initiate Protocol Mountain. Her fingers flew across her tablet as she executed the program they had prepared. Throughout the facility, mining charges detonated in carefully calculated sequences. Not enough to destroy everything, but enough to redirect the flow of air, water, and power exactly where Teho wanted it. Sections where aliens were concentrated suddenly filled with scalding steam from ruptured pipes. Areas where prisoners were held became perfectly ventilated safe zones. The facility's own life support system became a weapon against its occupiers. General Krextar watched his tactical display as his forces were systematically separated, isolated, and eliminated. Human prisoners walked to safety through corridors that had been death traps minutes before. His soldiers stumbled through passages that had become mazes of smoke, darkness, and sudden death. "How?" he demanded over the communicator. "How are 4 humans defeating an army?" Teho's response came from speakers throughout the complex, his voice calm and confident. "Because you made a fundamental error, General. You thought you were fighting 4 individual humans. But we're not individuals. We're a team. And we're not just fighting with weapons, we're fighting with everything around us." The facility's main power core began to overload, not enough to explode, but enough to create massive electromagnetic interference. The aliens' sophisticated equipment failed, their communications died, and their coordination collapsed completely. "Every pipe, every wire, every piece of equipment in this place is now our ally," Teho continued. "You're not just fighting us, you're fighting the mountain itself." As the 4th day ended, General Krextar counted his losses. Over 1,200 soldiers, dead or missing, his elite teams eliminated, his orbital support neutralized, the human prisoners rescued and secured, and still, he had not seen more than glimpses of his 4 human enemies. "This is not possible," he said to his aide. 4 humans cannot defeat an army." But deep in the facility, Teho was preparing for the final phase of his plan. "Tomorrow we end this," he told his team. "Tomorrow we show them what happens when you threaten human civilians." General Krexter made his final, fatal decision at dawn on the 5th day. "Seal all exits," he commanded his remaining forces. "Every tunnel, every ventilation shaft, every possible escape route. If I cannot capture these humans, I will bury them, alive." His aide hesitated. "General, that means our forces will also be trapped inside. Then we die with honor rather than flee in shame." Krextar snarled. "No Vorthak army has ever been defeated by 4 primitives. I will not be the first." Throughout the facility, alien soldiers moved to block every exit with explosive charges and metal barriers. They welded shut maintenance hatches, collapsed smaller tunnels, and posted guards at major passages. Within hours, the mountain facility had become a sealed tomb. "Humans," Krextar broadcast throughout the complex, "you have nowhere to run now. We will search every room, every passage, every hiding place until we find you. And when we do, you will pay for every warrior you have killed." Deep in the facility's heart, Taeho listened to the alien general with satisfaction. Everything was proceeding exactly according to his plan. "Sir," Sora whispered, "they've sealed us in. We can't escape even if we wanted to." "Who said anything about escaping?" Taeho replied with a cold smile. Minho checked his remaining explosives. "I've got enough charges to bring down half the mountain." "Save them," Taeho said. "We won't need explosives for what comes next." Wu Jin studied the tactical display. 800 aliens left, concentrated in the central levels. They think they have us cornered. "They do," Taeho agreed. "But they don't understand what that means." For the past 4 days, while conducting their guerrilla campaign, Taeho's team had been preparing for this exact moment. Every system hack, every structural modification, every carefully placed charge had served a dual purpose. They hadn't just been fighting the aliens, they had been turning the entire facility into a single massive trap. Sora, status on the environmental controls? Her fingers flew across her tablet, accessing systems she had spent days learning to control. All atmospheric processors under our command. Air circulation, temperature, humidity, gas mixture. I can adjust everything. Minho, structural integrity? The sergeant consulted his demolition plans. Every support beam, every load-bearing wall, every critical junction, mapped and prepped. I can control which sections collapse and which ones stay intact. Wu Jin, sight lines. The sniper had memorized every angle, every possible shooting position in the facility. Clear lines of fire to all major areas. They won't see me coming. Taeho activated his communicator one final time. "General Krekstar, you've made a mistake that many enemies of humanity have made throughout history. You've confused tactical positioning with strategic advantage." "Enough words, human," Krekstar replied. "My forces are closing in on your position. Surrender now and I will make your death quick." "Let me explain something to you," Taeho said calmly. "You think you've trapped us in here with you, but the truth is, we've trapped you in here with us." He gave the signal. Sora initiated the atmospheric assault. Throughout the alien-occupied sections, the air became thick and choking. Not poisonous. She wasn't trying to kill them yet. Just uncomfortable enough to force them to wear breathing masks that limited their vision and hearing. Temperature controls activated, creating zones of extreme heat and bitter cold. Humidity spiked to tropical levels in some areas, while others became desert dry. The aliens found themselves constantly adjusting equipment and struggling with environmental suits. Minho triggered the first sequence of structural modifications. Not explosions. Just the removal of key support elements that forced the aliens to abandon certain areas and concentrate in exactly the sections Taeho wanted them. "What is happening?" Alien voices could be heard throughout the complex as soldiers struggled with equipment failures and environmental hazards. "You wanted to fight us in an enclosed space," Taeho broadcast. "This is how humans fight in enclosed spaces." The facility's conveyor belt system activated, but not to transport ore. Sora had reprogrammed every moving surface to create a maze of shifting obstacles. Aliens found themselves separated from their units, carried away from their positions or deposited in areas where Wu Jin was waiting. The sniper had become death itself, moving through passages that only he could navigate, appearing where the aliens least expected him. His shots came from below, above and through walls that seemed solid until bullets passed through carefully prepared weak points. "Sir," Sora reported, "their communication network is completely disrupted. Individual units can't coordinate with command." "Phase 2, Taeho ordered. Now the facility itself became the weapon. Mining equipment activated throughout the complex. Massive ore crushers, conveyor systems, and processing machinery. The aliens found themselves dodging industrial equipment that seemed to have developed a malicious intelligence. Minho began the controlled demolition sequence. Not random explosions, but precisely calculated structural changes that funneled the remaining aliens into smaller and smaller areas. Entire sections of the facility were sealed off, while others became killing fields with no cover and multiple firing positions. The alien forces were being herded like sheep toward the central processing chamber. a vast open area surrounded by multiple levels of catwalks and observation platforms. General Krekstar, Teho's voice echoed through the chaos. Do you understand now? When you sealed the exits, you didn't trap us. You eliminated your own escape routes. The Vorthak general was beginning to comprehend his error, but it was too late. His scattered forces were converging on the central chamber not by choice, but because they had nowhere else to go. Every tunnel you've blocked, every passage you've sealed, it all forces your soldiers into the areas we've prepared. Teho continued. You've done our job for us. Sora activated the final phase of her program. The facility's mining lasers, originally designed to break apart asteroids, began targeting the structural supports above the central chamber, not to bring down the ceiling immediately, but to weaken it systematically. The remaining 300 Vorthak soldiers found themselves trapped in the central processing area with their general. Above them, around them, and below them, the humans controlled every system, every weapon, and every possible avenue of escape. Now you understand, Teho said as his team took their final positions. When you warned me I was surrounded, I told you that meant you were surrounded too. You thought I was being clever with words. Wujin's rifle spoke from 3 different positions in rapid succession, impossible shots that eliminated the last alien officers capable of coordinating a defense. But I was being literal, Teho continued. You surrounded us with your forces, but we surrounded your forces with our environment. Minho's final charges detonated in perfect sequence, bringing down carefully selected sections of ceiling and wall. The aliens found themselves in a box canyon of rubble and twisted metal, with no way out and no cover. Every piece of equipment, every structural element, every breath of air in this facility, it's all ours now. You're not fighting 4 humans anymore, General. You're fighting the mountain itself. Sora triggered the mining lasers one final time. The remaining ceiling supports gave way, and tons of rock and metal came crashing down, but not randomly. She had calculated every angle to leave safe passages for the human colonists while sealing the fate of their captors. When the dust settled, General Krekstar found himself alone among the wreckage, his army buried under the mountain they had tried to claim. Teho emerged from the shadows, his rifle trained on the alien general. You came here with 2,000 soldiers to capture 4 humans and some civilian miners. Behind him, Sora, Minho, and Wujin appeared from their positions. They looked tired, but unharmed. Around them, rescued human colonists began emerging from the safe zones where they had been protected throughout the battle. How many do you have left? Teho asked. Krekstar looked around at the devastation his decisions had caused. His mighty army had been defeated not by superior firepower or greater numbers, but by 4 humans who had turned his own tactics against him. I underestimated your species, the general said quietly. Yes, you did, Teho agreed. You thought being surrounded meant being trapped, but for humans, being surrounded just means having targets in every direction. The rescue ships arrived 6 hours later, responding to Sora's emergency beacon. They found a destroyed alien army, rescued human civilians, and 4 soldiers who had redefined the concept of guerrilla warfare. As they flew away from the mountain facility, now collapsed and useless, Teho filed his after-action report. Mission summary, he dictated. Enemy forces eliminated. Civilian prisoners rescued. Casualties, 0 human military personnel. He paused, then added a final note that would become legendary throughout human space. Recommendation for future engagements. When fighting humans, remember, we don't get trapped. We set traps. The story spread quickly through both human and alien space. The Vorthak Empire quietly withdrew their expansion fleets from human territory. Other species took note of what had happened when an overwhelming alien force tried to corner 4 human soldiers. They learned that humans were most dangerous not when they had advantages, but when they had none.